we are entitled to that communication from our loved ones ourselves. And it's down to the need. When they feel that need is purposeful, they will come forward and they can talk to you, they can show you, you can feel them as well. And sometimes all it needs is us to look at mediumship and what we do a little bit differently. Instead of looking at it, I want to talk to you and have that mental conversation or conscious conversation, sometimes it's just about sitting quiet and going into that daydream state and letting them impress upon you. And if we're really honest, ladies and gentlemen, how many times do we sit every day purposely just to be quiet, just to go into that moment? It's very rare, isn't it? Even we're through COVID, unfortunately, it's not been a great period, but it's given us time to reflect. But still, it's a fast-moving world. Still, there's always something going on. So taking time out daily, not just to sit in the power, but having time to recenter. I mean, there's a young lady sat at the side of me, and every now and again her watch beeps and said it's time to just to center, just to breathe, just to have a relaxing moment away from the stressful day of the work. And this is what we do. And it's in them moments the spirit will come close to us, our loved ones. But again, there's moments I sit there and I hear my loved ones speak to me and say a few words. And it is only a few words. I've got to be honest, though, it's not as often as I would like. If we look at people like Albert Best, he was married with a child and he lost his child and wife. And he had I think he had one visitation from them, but I remember him talking about it where he said, well, that once was enough. It stayed with me for all my life and it's got me through. But I know when I go to the spirit world, they'll be there waiting. So there's a real healing quality to it. But yes, you're right, we don't get that communication. I think sometimes we have a need or support, but the best thing for us is to find that healing in life ourselves to give us strength. But those moments we really do need it, they do come in. But again, it's just about sitting quiet.
I would agree. For me, it's a sitting. We would call it sitting in the power. Some of you are sitting for spirit or sitting in silence. Some of you also might call it meditation. When I'm sitting in that place, then there's the odd occasion my loved ones will come in. But in terms of being able to speak and say, okay, I have a father here and da-da-da, my loved ones don't come in like that. And I don't know whether my mind would get in the way of that anyway. So we've got to be aware that our own consciousness kicks in. We are using our subconscious and our consciousness for our mediumship. So our mind is going to check and double check, as we do as mediums, before we give the information. But we are going to overly check and double check if we thought our own parents or children or grandparents were actually communicating. We'd be curious as the recipient. So it's very difficult to be the medium and the recipient for any contact. We very rarely get contacts. We absolutely very rarely go to mediums for readings. One, because we don't have that need, really. Often it's more of a psychic need, of a check-in. But in terms of going for a mediumship reading, we know the spirit world don't tell futures. We know they're not going to tell us what to do, and we know they're there. So we don't need an evidential reading. So really, what's the need then? And it might be that there is grief that needs healed. Well, we know that a reading doesn't heal grief. It might be that there's a need for us to have advice from a mum and dad that would normally give it when they were here. Well, they kind of know better that side of life, so they're not going to tell us unless they're really opinionated, and then they'll come through. But then our mind is going to play with it. So we have to be grateful for the contact we have with our loved ones, but often it will not be through us as a medium to us as a recipient. It's just a little bit too mind-boggling, I think, for our own brains and hearts to be able to do. It's difficult when our own need is in there, when we're the recipient, the medium, and our need is there. So if you are grieving and a medium, you are entitled to a reading. I'm not saying get Phil or I, but go to somebody you trust. And if you want an evidential reading, know that an evidential reading will be evidence of them not telling you what to do. That would be going for a psychic reading, and make sure it's a good psychic that's not going to tell you, but remind you of who you are and what decisions you've made in the past, what you've learned from them, and what you want to be doing moving forward.